Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you here with us. My name is Kalita Bach. I have the honor of being the CEO of the National Youth Leadership Council. And we are just so delighted to be joined by such an amazing panel. And it's so wonderful to see so many friends and partners and some new faces in the room as well. So thank you truly for being here. I particularly want to thank Senator Kay Hagan and Congressman Howard Coble, who have made it possible for us. Please ignore the beeps. For those of you who aren't used to being on Capitol Hill, this is the system that helps members of Congress to know where to be and when the votes are coming and all of those things. So what we do is just talk through it. So Congressman Coble and Senator Hagan were the ones who helped to organize this event with us, to secure the space for us. And I especially want to thank Simone Hardiman-Jones for all of her work in helping to coordinate this effort. One of the things that sometimes happens when these things get scheduled is that oftentimes other things get scheduled at the same time. So unfortunately, Senator Hagan really wanted to be here with us today. She did have a chance to meet Tyler and Alhosainy yesterday, so that was great. But she did send a message, and so I wanted to just read this on her behalf. So this is a message from Senator Hagan. She says, "Welcome to the Capitol and to Washington, D.C. I am glad you are able to attend this briefing on the important topic of education reform and specifically the use of service learning. I'm also sorry I can't be with you personally, but Senate business is keeping me away. I'm especially glad that some good people from North Carolina could be here today to share with each of you the great work that's occurring in Guilford County schools through service learning. I am delighted that Superintendent Green, his staff, and students are willing to share their success stories. Their focus on student achievement and how the use of service learning has helped them fulfill their commitment to character education in one of the largest school districts in the state. We all know and agree that education reform is one of our highest priorities as a nation. What I hope you hear today is how service learning can be a critical tool in accomplishing that reform by improving student achievement, especially in lower performing schools. Thanks again to those here from Guilford County, to the National Youth Leadership Council, the Department of Education, and to the other panelists. Have a great briefing." So we thank Senator Hagan for her kind remarks, and I want to add how pleased I am and how honored I am to be here with each of you today. I am honored to be joined by distinguished panelists from Guilford County, of course, from Communities and Schools, from the U.S. Department of Education, and a member of my team at NYLC. I also want to thank Artemis Strategies. They're a bipartisan government relations firm here in DC that we've had the pleasure of working with over the past few months, who have helped us to plan this event. And I also want to thank State Farm Insurance and the UPS Foundation, both of whom have been instrumental partners with us and whose generosity has made our work possible with Guilford County and beyond. So what I'm going to do is just offer a couple of quick remarks, and then we'll turn it over to the panel. So I just first want to say that I completely agree with Senator Hagan that education reform is one of our nation's top priorities, and it should be. But I also believe there's no one silver bullet to education reform and closing the achievement gap. And today, we are gathered to really hear, to highlight, and to raise visibility around something that works. It's not something that we hear a lot in Washington these days, something that's working and working well. Through strong leadership, valuing youth, and thoughtful collaboration with community partners, the Guilford County School District is succeeding, and part of that successful strategy includes using service learning. Some of the themes that I think you'll hear from our panelists today include the importance of student success in academic, character, and civic education, and that you don't have to sacrifice one to accomplish the other. The importance of professional development for educators is something that you'll probably hear today, as well as the importance of true public-private partnerships and engaging youth themselves in their own education. At the National Youth Leadership Council, we value young people, and we believe that they should be called upon to lead. This belief is the foundation of our organization, and it fuels our mission to create a more just, sustainable, and peaceful world with young people, their schools, and their communities. Over the past nearly 30 years, the National Youth Leadership Council, which is a nonprofit organization based in St. Paul, Minnesota, We've worked to fulfill our mission by developing young leaders, supporting educators, and advancing the field of service learning. So for those of you who may not be familiar with service learning, it's a term I've now thrown out, I don't know, half a dozen times. Ace is probably counting. It's a strategy that connects both teaching and learning objectives to help students understand what they're doing in the classroom with the context of community service and doing something meaningful to solve problems in their schools and their communities. So one example, collecting canned food for a food drive would be service. Studying nutrition and healthy diets would be learning. Investigating food security in the community and partnering with local governments, perhaps nonprofit organizations, on a forum to discuss the issue and how to increase food access is service learning. So it's the combination of both. What we're going to do today is hear from our panelists. I will introduce each one very briefly, so hopefully each of you has a packet. Within that packet is a lot of information, including a sheet with biographies. We have some very distinguished, all of our panelists are very distinguished, so rather than waste time reading their bios to you, I just want to direct you to that sheet in your packet. So we'll first hear from Superintendent Green, and we'll get remarks from him, and then I'll introduce each of the panelists in turn. So without further ado, it is my great honor to introduce Superintendent Maurice Green, who is from Guilford County Schools.
Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning.
It's certainly my pleasure to be here this morning as the Superintendent of Guilford County Schools. Again, my name is Maurice Green, but as I've told many of you, you can just call me Mo. Thank you for providing Guilford County Schools an opportunity to discuss 4 things with you this morning. 1, our district and our remarkable students. 2, our strategy for achieving educational excellence. 3, we'll talk a little bit about our successes. And then 4, we'll talk about how service learning has been a key strategy in helping us get to some of our successes. So first of all, who are we? Guilford County Schools is the 3rd largest district in the state. We have 124 schools in our district. We cover certainly urban, suburban, and rural areas. You'll note as part of, we have the city of Greensboro and the city of Hagan will be in Guilford County. We this year enrolled a little over 72,000 students. And our students are very, very diverse. We have about 41% of our students are African American. About 38% of our students are white, Caucasian. We have a growing Latino Hispanic population. It is up to now around 11%. We have about 5.7% of our students are Asian. 3.7% of our students would be identified as multiracial, and then there's certainly other. More than half of our students are eligible for free and reduced lunch, which, as you know, is a measure of poverty in our school district. In fact, that number this past year is up to almost 57%. If you go back over a decade or so ago, that number would have been in the mid-30 percentile range. So we are increasing the number of students who are being eligible for free and reduced lunch in our district. Our student population speaks over 100 languages and dialects. We have over 123 countries represented in our district as well in our student body. We have around 10,000 or so students who are students with disabilities. We have over 12,000 students who would be identified as advanced learners. I celebrated my 4th anniversary as superintendent in the school district just a few days ago. And when I arrived in the school district, one of the things that I did was listening and learning. Really tried to get around our district and our community and really try to understand where we thought we were as a school district and where we wanted to go. And boy, did I hear some things. Among the things that I heard, where certainly we want to continue to try to raise the level of academic achievement in our district. We also need to deal with behavior and character development. In so many ways, our community said we believe that in some parts, our students have lost their way. They do not understand how to operate in a school environment or in our community. Let me just give you a sense of what some of the numbers looked like in 2008 when I arrived. We certainly had Graduation rate that was above the state average. It was at 79.5%. The state average was around 72%. And so, in some ways, we were, in some eyes, doing okay, doing well, but knew that there was substantial room for improvement. If you look at our end-of-course results and end-of-grade results, end-of-grade would be 3rd through 8th grade tests that are given. In reading, the state had just redrawn the examination, and so we had 55% of our students reading on grade level, 3rd through 8th grade. In mathematics, that number was around 71.4%. We also give tests in the state in science in 5th and 8th grade. In the 5th grade, our science scores were 42.5%. 8th grade was 51.2%. Our end-of-course tests, which are given primarily to our high school students, although some middle school students can take that exam as well, we were at 62.7% of our students being at a proficiency level. The state has various designations of schools. The highest designation, or the 2 highest, would be schools of excellence and honor schools of excellence. It's where you have to have at least 90% of your students performing on grade level, and you also have to meet what's called expected growth. And an honor school of excellence is you also have to meet at that time the federal standard of meeting adequate yearly progress. We had around 120 or so schools at that time. We had 1 school that was considered an honor school of excellence or school of excellence. On the flip side, there's something called a low performing school. And a low performing would mean you have less than 50% of your students performing on grade level, and you also do not meet at least expected growth with your students. In 2008, we had 9 of our schools that were low performing. Indeed, the next year we actually went the wrong direction, and we had 10 low performing schools in our district, which was the most in the state. And we had about 7,000 out-of-school suspensions that were related to discourteous acts and general non-compliance, and those make up the majority of the reasons our students are suspended in our school district. And so, we had some work to do. 2 common themes emerged in those conversations, both internally and externally. One is that we certainly need to improve academic outcomes. We also need to do something with regards to student behavior. We launched our strategic plan in January of 2009, and there were 3 major themes in that plan. 1 was academic excellence. 2 was character development, and certainly doing that in part through service learning. And then 3, being excellent in all that we do. We decided to select a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. In that plan, I stated that we believe that strength of character combined with the keen analytical skills of a finely tuned mind can overcome any obstacles and create a limitless future. I also challenged our district to think about this for themselves and then for our young people. What will you do in addition to what you will do? What will you do in addition to what you will do? You know what you will do as far as work, but what else will you do on behalf of your local community, the state, and the world? So now, as we now fast forward ahead 4 years, we're actually concluding that strategic plan. Indeed, there's a plan that goes through 2012. And so we're actually in the midst of now developing our next strategic plan that will be launched in January of 2013 and will go through 2016. We certainly have made progress, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But we also realize that we have got more improvement yet to make. We have got to improve a great deal. We've made progress. We're pleased with the progress that we've made. Let me be clear. We've got more work that we need to do. Let me talk about some of the numbers. The graduation rate, as I mentioned, in 2008 was at 79.5%. This past year with the class of 2012, we're at 84.5% of those students graduating. We had 6 of our high schools had 100% graduation rate this past year. And we had an additional 9 schools that had over 90% graduation rate. And that included 4 of our traditional comprehensive high schools, if you will. If you look at the scholarships earned by our graduating class this past year, we had, if you look back to 2009, that class had $79 million in scholarships earned. This class that just graduated had $139 million in scholarships. If you look at our end of grade and end of course results, you remember some of those numbers. Reading, for example, was at 55%, we're up to 68.1%. Math, we're at 71.4%, we're up to 82.1%. Science, you recall those numbers being incredibly low. We're at 42.5%. In 5th grade science, we're up to 70.4%. 8th grade, we're at 51.2% to 71.7%. And the end of course results, we're at 62.7%. With this last year, we're up to 79.7%. So certainly significant progress, but you can also see in those numbers we still have work to do in our district, and we're going to be about making that happen. When you look at our struggling schools, and I talked with you in just a moment ago about our low performance schools. Certainly we had low performance schools that were at 9 and 10. That's the schools that were below 50% of the students performing on grade level and also did not meet the expected growth in those schools. We actually had 30 schools that had performance composites below 50%. This in 2010-11, we went from 30 to 1. Low performance schools, we went from 9, 10, we ultimately went down to 1 and to 0. This past year, we did have 1 school that was identified as a low performance school, so we're about making that change there as well. But to go from 9 to 10, actually, and 10, 11 down to 0, was a remarkable improvement. And to essentially stay at that place, we believe was good progress. On the flip side, so that's our low performing, what happened with the schools that are at the top levels. You recall we had 1 school that was an honor school of excellence or a school of excellence. This past year, we had 19. If you look at the next category down, which is schools of distinction, where we had 14 of those schools in 2008, we essentially doubled that number this past year. And so now we have 1 out of every 3 of our schools at the top levels of school performance in our district. If you look at our out-of-school suspensions, you remember I talked about having almost 7,000 out-of-school suspensions for disorderly conduct and general non-compliance. Based on preliminary data that was presented to our Board of Education just a few weeks ago, that number would be 4,213. So a substantial decrease in those areas, and almost a 39% reduction. Suffice it to say this, there are a number of strategies that have been employed in Guilford County schools that have allowed us to have to see the progress that we've made. And so I'm not going to suggest to you that's any one thing that has caused us to have the progress that we've enjoyed. One of the key strategies, however, we believe, has been our work around character education and in particular service learning. Let me give you a sense of what we did in Guilford County schools to kick it off. We started each year having a State of Our Schools event, and at our first one, which would have been in 2010, we announced, here we're now ready, after a year's worth of planning, to really kick off our service learning efforts. And we worked with our generous community to kick it off in a fabulous way. We, as a district, decided to build a habitat house. And so we decided that it would be built by our students and by our employees. And so for 20 Saturdays in 2010, we went about building a habitat house. But as part of building the habitat house, we actually had to learn about homelessness in our community. To really start to integrate not just doing the work, not just doing the service, but to better understand what homelessness is like in our district, in our community, as we do the work. And so the students, before they were allowed to work on that project, had to understand some aspects of homelessness in the district. The employees had to do the same as well. That was intended to do a couple of things, that project. One was to kick it off, but symbolically to say to our community, we're going to be about doing something dramatically different in our district with regards to the way we're educating our young people. We're not simply going to focus on the traditional, what happens in the classroom. We're going to expand that to what happens in our community as well. And the building of the Habitat House, I believe, is a wonderful way to do that. It was just the start of the work. As you'll hear from Brenda Elliott and certainly the two students who are here with us today, there's been a lot of additional work that has gone on that has allowed us to get to, and you'll hear from me in just a moment, some of the places we've gone with regards to service learning. We certainly see it as a key strategy to addressing character education and civic goals within an academic context. We believe that this was a wonderful way for us to meet the needs and expectations of our parents and our community members. Because they wanted their children prepared not only for today and tomorrow, but even beyond. We believe this is core to what we're doing in our school system. We are very pleased with the way that over now the course of a few years, we've been able to integrate service learning into our curriculum, even as we continue to drive quality and seek ongoing improvement. We're also pleased about how the level of service and service learning has become embedded into our school district. And I'll just give you a couple of examples here. One would be an example for the adults. This past summer, in fact, every summer before we start the school year, we have a Summer Leadership Institute where we bring in our principals and assistant principals and the senior leadership in the district. And we go through, what did we accomplish this past year, as well as what will our charge be for this coming year. It's a professional development opportunity as well for those leaders. As part of the Institute this year, as we said, we've got to continue to be sure we deepen our understanding and our commitment to service learning. We called on our leaders to work with partners in our community, over a dozen agencies in our community, to do an organized day of service. And so the first day of the Summer Leadership Institute was a day of service by our leaders in our community. Again, trying to be sure that we are setting the example for what we wanted to happen in our district. That's the level of commitment we have around this issue. And so when the individuals went to do the service work for their individual agencies, they had to spend some of the time really understanding the issues around what that agency is dealing with as well. It wasn't simply about doing the work. It was also about being sure that they understood what was going on. That's one example. A second example would be with regards to the way that we have decided to recognize our students who are doing incredible work in our community. In 2011, we decided to have, we had decided previously, but 2011 would have been the first year that it actually came to be. And that is that we had an exemplary award that was given to graduating seniors who completed at least 50 hours of service learning. We had no real idea how many of our students would do that. We ended up having 440 of our seniors do that. And that was remarkable. This past year, with the class of 2012, we wanted to go even further. And so we had not only the exemplary award for a certain number of hours of service learning, but we also had in our district a service learning diploma the first time. Now, those students had to complete at least 175 hours in their high school career in order to receive that award, or that diploma. And that number will actually increase up to, when we get up to 250 hours once we have a class that will have gone through the entire 4 years of having service learning as part of their work in Guilford County schools. But for the 175 hours for this class of 2012, We actually had 582 of our students do that amount. In addition, we had 350 earn the exemplary award. So we had not only the 582, but the 350, so almost 1,000 students earning one of the other awards. We were able to do something, and this was again just because of the wonderful connections with our community. Something that we call cool to serve. It is something where we recognize those graduating seniors, the ones who have gotten the exemplary awards in the service learning diploma. They were invited to an event. And it was an event where they were able to win, students were able to win Apple prizes, other technology prizes, and one student was able to drive away with a brand new car for their work. Now, this program mirrored a program that was already in our district, and in fact had been in our district for about 10 years. In fact, we had our 10th annual Cool to Be Smart event. That was an event for our young people who do exceptionally well academically. So students who completed at least 5 advanced placement, complete and pass. And so we have certain levels that you have to get to complete and pass a certain number of 5 advanced placement courses, or 5 international baccalaureate courses, or 5 college level courses. And we had about 600 students be able to participate in that, and this year they were able to be eligible to win technology prizes, Apple products, and also one student was able to drive away with a brand new car. So what you can see is then we have said, and we're now really doing, what we said we were going to do is to raise the level of what we're doing around academic achievement and around character development. We're putting it at the same level, intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. I can certainly say, and I certainly believe that you'll hear from our young people today, we have 2 tremendous examples of this morning. Of young people who are making a tremendous difference in our local community and indeed in our state and across the world. They are doing tremendous work, and we believe that it is adding to the fabric and indeed changing the fabric of our community. There's much more work for us to do. The work is not done. I want to suggest otherwise. But as we stand at this place, just a few years in, we're so pleased with the way that our young people, when given the opportunity to see how they can learn mathematics, science, social studies, foreign languages, draw, and incorporate that into then doing service for our community, taking what they've learned in the classroom and turn it into service in our community. It has been just phenomenal. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak for just a moment or two. And certainly at the end, we hopefully have an opportunity to answer any questions that you may have about what we've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Green. We just gave him a round of applause for this. Thank you for your leadership and for being with us today. And hopefully we will have time for questions at the end, so stick around. Next up, we have Alhosainy Altaher, who is an 11th grade student leader at Grimsley High School. And he is going to talk to us about some of his experience and also his role as a service learning ambassador. So Al, you're up.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alhosainy Altaher, and I'm representing Guilford County Schools. I go to Grimsley High School. I'm a service learning ambassador, and one thing I realized that part of service learning is to engage students, and in that process, we want them to learn something. And a great example of that is Burrito Bikers. Burrito Bikers is an organization sponsored by Dustin's Greenhouse. We make burritos for the homeless, and ourselves, we learn how to cook, and I've learned how to correctly crack an egg. Yeah. With the help of some teachers and a group of students, we've made about 120 burritos so far, and it's ongoing. And we go out to downtown and pass them out in the city park. And one thing that is really phenomenal about this organization is we get to talk to the homeless. You know, you don't see that much in the streets, especially here in DC. You can see there's a lot of homeless people just sleeping on the benches, and they don't get enough attention. And one thing I learned is that I met a guy. He's Russian, and his house got foreclosure. What surprised me the most about this person is the qualities he has. He speaks German, Russian, French. He's so talented, and yet we don't realize that every day, and we don't meet those kind of people. This was a great opportunity for me to just experience this and share it with my colleagues at Dursley High School. And this kind of gave me a sense of civic responsibility, what I should be doing in the community as a young citizen. And one thing I learned is that don't take stuff for granted. We have a lot of resources, opportunities, and we shouldn't just don't take it for granted. And certainly this organization has allowed us to get a feel of that experience and share it. And one thing I've built through this organization is the teacher and student relationship. I gotta express that. Teachers, they're a great, you need teachers out there that have the sense of responsibility. And, you know, I met a teacher, his name is Mr. Freeberg, and we call him Bird. And he's a very nice guy, and he's allowed us to share that experience with him. You know, he's been a cook for several years, and he's certainly taught me some techniques in the kitchen. And the most important thing about this opportunity was the service learning part. I got to connect this with my civics class, civics and economics, and basically there's a difference between civic responsibility and your duties. Duties are stuff that, you know, you have to go to a jury trial, or you have to pay taxes. But civic responsibility is something that you give and invest into your community. And that's the most important thing I learned about this. My role as a service learning ambassador at school has been just to really encourage my students to participate in service learning. And once the first time that I saw like lots of students just engage in the community, and you know, once they get the opportunity, they'll all jump on it. And that's the thing that amazes me about, you know, students in the advanced placement courses and IB courses. You know, not just that, but regular students that takes honors and CP classes. They really want to open up and understand the connections to service learning. And we made a presentation at our school, and we were only expecting about 50 students, you know, something like that, to come and see us speaking about service learning in the auditorium. But around 100 people came. You know, I was surprised, and a couple other ambassadors were with me. And that just opened up, like, our role as a service learning ambassador is to educate these people, give them opportunities, and describe what the service learning diploma is. As Mo mentioned earlier, there's an exemplary award which has been really successful, and this service learning diploma. I heard about this service learning diploma, and I was very interested, but I didn't know how to get started. So I heard about this service learning ambassador training, and I was like, yeah, I want to join that. So this really made me understand my role as a service learning ambassador. And another important part about my role is to stay on top with the teachers. You know, make sure they're providing high quality service learning, such as burrito bikers, and make sure they're connecting and helping students reflect upon that and demonstrate and celebrate that excellence. One thing I've seen change through the classroom is just the teacher-student relationship. That's the most important thing you need. You know, most classrooms in my school, there are like 30 students, and you know, you don't really get to talk to your teacher and engage on a daily basis. You probably have like 6 courses and you just go in and out. But service learning has allowed me to really get to meet my teachers personally, you know, their life. And like I said earlier, students understand the concepts of the classes through service learning and about their citizenship and what their role is in their community. And I think the most positive relationship is your student and really teacher's relationship. And this service learning opportunity has given me, and I'm blessed to have this opportunity to speak in front of you and share my experiences. And thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. We're going to shift back to an adult. I have the honor of introducing Brenda Elliott. She's the Executive Director of Student Services and Character Development with Guilford County Schools. And she has done an amazing job of trying to implement the vision that has been set out and help to actualize this. So Brenda, please share a few minutes of your story with us.
Thank you, and good morning to you all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So in Guilford County, our Character Development Initiative has 3 fundamentals, and those fundamentals are character education, civic education, and service learning. And character education is helping young people to learn about, act upon, and model good character traits that were once referred to as soft skills, and they're now being referred by many employers as essential skills. Things like kindness, responsibility, respect, and integrity and courage. By civic education, we mean helping students to understand their responsibility as an individual citizen, as well as the power of groups of citizens working together for positive action in their community. And finally, service learning, which is the keystone of our initiative, and it's a way in which we help students to demonstrate good character and also good citizenship. So for Guilford County, service learning is not just a philosophy or a framework, it's also an essential teaching strategy that teachers are able to use in their classroom to connect what students are learning to this action in the community. It answers a real important question that students ask all the time. Why am I learning this? Why do I need to know this? It really gives young people an opportunity to take the skills they've learned in the classroom to really apply it to things in their community, things that they are interested in, and that areas that are meaningful service that their community needs. It makes learning relevant, like Al said here, because it really addresses that relationship between the student and the teacher, but not only that, between the community. And we're in Guilford County, we're seeing a lot of change to our community perceptions about teenagers, especially about what teenagers care about and what they can do. And we're proud that in Guilford County, our teenagers they really care about their community and solving the problems that we face. It is a tremendous dropout prevention strategy because it addresses student engagement. You know, many students that drop out of school, they don't drop out because they can't do the work. They drop out because they're absolutely bored to death. There's no relevance to what they're learning in their classrooms to their real life. And service learning helps to increase student engagement. In Guilford County, again, in talking about the community, we now have 160 community partners that provide opportunities for our students to do service learning or connect with our students in grades K through 8th grade. And so this is something I feel that, it is uniting our whole community. I don't think we'll ever have enough money to solve all the problems that we have, but we have the intellectual capital to work together to do it. And we are really taking, we are not only investing in the intellectual capital of our young people, but they're investing that intellectual capital into our communities, not when they graduate, but right now. Even in kindergarten, they're doing that. It gives students this opportunity to really actualize the fact that they believe they can make their community a better place. We recently did a survey, and over 90% of our 4th graders told us that they believe they can make their world a better place. And we're giving opportunities for those young people to do that. Not to just sit at home and watch television, but to really think about what problem in my community that I can help address. And I'm going to tell you about some of those things they're doing. For many teachers, and as a former teacher and now a central office administrator, this is the place that I am just so excited about. For many teachers, service learning is helping to reignite the passion that they have for teaching. Teachers tell us that they didn't become educators to teach kids to take tests. They became educators to help children to wonder, to ask why, and to creatively come up with solutions for problems. And service learning helps our teachers to ignite that creativity and wonder into our youth. And when our state came out with the new teacher evaluation system, we were ecstatic to learn that service learning was listed as one of the strategies in which teachers are able to demonstrate that they are distinguished teachers. And so we were excited to see that our state had already recognized that as being an incredible instructional strategy. It also is helping our teachers to address 21st century skills. In our teacher evaluation model, our teachers have a responsibility to teach 21st century skills like leadership, accountability, adaptability, personal productivity. And service learning is a strategy that helps students to learn all of those things, including social responsibility and self-direction. So that's kind of the background, but let me just give you some real examples. What does this look like in some of our schools? One example in Blueford Elementary School, our students in that elementary school partnered with Home Depot. One of the things they were interested in was maybe developing a walking trail around their school. So what these elementary school students did was, with the support of their teacher, developed a survey to survey their community to see if this is something their community was interested in. And it was. In fact, the community was really excited to be asked by the students if this is something that they wanted. The 5th grade students in that school graphed those survey results and created a starting point based on those community needs. And then each grade level began researching plants in their science class that needed shade and that would be appropriate for that area. They used their math skills to design to lay out the graphics of what a walking trail would have, what would be the different areas. And then they planned a grand opening of the walkway, invited the community to participate. That's service learning in our elementary schools. Another example, Guilford Elementary School, one of our 3rd through 5th grade exceptional children teachers partnered with a regular education kindergarten teacher to help those kindergartners learn about the importance of eating healthy. So our exceptional children, and some people say children with disabilities or special education students, each of those students decided what their favorite fruit or vegetable was, and they began developing descriptive sentences around those different fruits and vegetables. They took those sentences to develop children's books and then begin reading to each other, and then begin reading to those kindergartners. The students in the EC class then developed a play about the fruits and vegetables and performed it for the kindergartner students, and then led those kindergartners through in a reflection activity. That's service learning in Guilford County elementary schools. Elementary school with our students with disabilities. And we've met with our parent council for our exceptional children, and they have just been very serious that this is going to be a place that their young people are finally recognized for their giftedness. And they may not be able to show that giftedness on a standardized test, but they have a lot to offer our community in solving problems, and we're seeing it every day in Guilford County. Jackson Middle School 8th grade students were working with their art teacher and a life skills teacher, and they decided to look at the issue of poverty or food scarcity. And they decided to do this through an Empty Bowls project. And I don't know if you're familiar with Empty Bowls, but that's been around for a long time. And so the students, through their arts class, created these ceramic bowls, and they designed their own bowls and painted them. And then in their life skills class, they learned about the issues of poverty and food scarcity. And they used the skills in the life skills class that they were learning about how to develop a campaign. So they did a public awareness campaign on the issue of poverty. They developed brochures, their mission statement addressing poverty in their community. And then they held an event in their library where they invited community and their parents to come in and to learn about food scarcity and poverty, and to also have an opportunity to purchase one of the bowls that they had developed. So during that event, you serve soup in the bowls, and then you can take a bowl home. And so here our middle school students were using one of the highest levels of service learning, which is research and advocacy. So it's more, our kids do direct service where they're out working with organizations, directly serving folks. One of the examples that Al shared here, actually going out and distributing food in one of our community parks. But they're also looking at the complexity of these issues of poverty, on a big scale, and then teaching their parents and their community about those issues. So now we see what our elementary and middle school students. Let's talk about some of our high school students. I'm excited about all of these, but this is one of my favorite. Western Guilford High School, their advanced drama department decided they wanted to do some things around teen driver safety. So they met with the Greensboro Police Department, and the police officers came in and shared stories of teens that were actually killed or hurt seriously while texting and driving. And so those students took those real-world experiences to develop their own Team Safe Driving campaign. So after meeting with the police department, they took those stories and developed PSA's public service announcements. They wrote 5 brief scenes to create a play that they performed for their entire school. So the students created a character that could represent anyone at their school and took the audience through those real-world scenarios of where you have the character or the teen ending up in a fortunate death because they were texting and driving. Of course, the powerful thing is that you have the teens teaching their peers, and they listen to each other more than they listen to adults. We all know that. Teaching each other about the importance of safe driving. But the other really amazing thing was the collaboration between our teenagers and our law enforcement. And often, we know there's not always the best relationship of what the police officers think about our teenagers and what our teenagers think about the police officer. So this was an incredible opportunity to build relationships between those two groups. Our students also work with the Greensboro Police Department to lead a teen safe dating program where we actually have 3 high schools that work to develop the scenarios on safe teen dating. So we're really pleased of how that is helping to change the perceptions that both of those groups may have about each other and how they can work together to address problems. In Southwest High School, our students in our honors anatomy class learning about, they were looking at digestive systems, disease, and okay, 2 minutes to wrap up. Got you. So anyways, they focus, they researched and explored fundraising opportunities in graphic design, and they actually worked with Heifer International, which is a nonprofit, to learn about homelessness, and were able to see what they could do to help to help impoverished countries have access to livestock so that, they can have sustainable incomes. And finally, one of my most favorite, which is Dudley High School. And Dudley High School, and it's a high poverty school, and that's why I love the story. Those young people have outperformed every other high school in our district in serving their community. The students in Dudley were learning in their U.S. history class about the Great Depression. Their teacher began to talk to them about poverty in other countries. And they did a hunger simulation where they were able to be assigned a different country like Bolivia or Rwanda. And they actually got to learn about poverty in other countries compared to poverty in the United States. They work with more than 8 community partners that are addressing issues of poverty and food scarcity. So in Guilford County, our students are excited about the opportunity to do good. Not when they graduate, now. They can do good things now. Last year, our seniors alone completed more than 160,000 hours of service to the community, and that was just our baseline of a $3.5 million economic impact of our young people's service to our community. And that's what a footprint. What a footprint for to see what our young people are doing. So I'm really thankful to be in a school district that provides this opportunity, a school board that has passed board policy and provide funding, as well as our support from the National Youth Leadership Council for professional development, and our relationship with community and schools that helps to fund some of our curriculum that has been developed. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, Brenda. She is one of the best advocates that Guilford County has and that Service Learning has, and I know that she has a million examples, so I feel badly holding you back, Brenda, but it's my pleasure to now introduce Tyler Hardin. He is an 11th grade student at Weaver Academy in Guilford County. As Superintendent Green was on our plenary stage at the National Service Learning Conference in 2011, and this year in 2012, Tyler was on our plenary stage. So please, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day on Capitol Hill. Awesome. So glad to be with you. First, I want to take you back to 2009 when we first started the service learning when Guilford County implemented it. I was fortunate enough to be able to be one of the attendees at the service learning training. We were able to learn all about service learning, all the steps and the entire process. Now, from there, I took that back to my high school, and we decided that, people at my school didn't really know about service learning. They weren't familiar with it, and they would always come up and ask me about service learning. So we decided to start a video. Together with 2 other students, 2 other service learning ambassadors, we created a video about service learning and some of the projects that we've actually started at Weaver Academy. From there, we were asked to go to NYLC, their National Service Learning Conference, and had a terrific time there showcasing the video and talking a little bit about the service learning projects. And let me go ahead and touch on some of those service learning projects that we've been doing at Weaver Academy. The first one is called the Very Special Arts Festival. It's a festival that's been going on for about 7 years now at Weaver Academy. And for the past 5 or so years, we've gone just to experience this great day at Gateway Education Center, which is another school in Guilford County. It's for children who are disabled. So the students at Weaver Academy, since we are performing in visual arts school, we go there, share our talents from drama to music production to piano to guitar to strings to visual art. We go and share our talents with them and have a really great day with them, being able to have one-on-one interactions and really see what they can do and what we can do to just have a great day. So we've done that for 7 years now, but for the past 2 years, we really started to experience the perspective of students with disabilities. So we decided to start this pledge called Say No to the R Word, or Don't Say the R Word, excuse me. And so what we did is we started that pledge, and we're trying to get people to pledge not to say the R word. So from the Very Special Arts Festival, we were able to get over 100 signatures to stop saying the R word at Weaver Academy. This is for a total of 300 students at Weaver Academy. So that was a really terrific moment to have students to pledge not to say that word. And with the Very Special Arts Festival, we've really been able to see how students have really changed their perspectives and really just loved on students with disabilities and really trying to connect that. So that was one of three that I'll touch on real quick. Another one is Brutus Learns a Lesson, and now our music production class at Weaver Academy has started a new fantastic idea of creating books against bullying. So, for example, Brutus Learns a Lesson is about a book where a student who was bullied was then taught not to interact with the bully, to stop and go seek a teacher. So with that book, they were able to create that with the music production class. They were able to create a soundtrack and have different sound effects and stuff to go along with the book. They took those books to local elementary schools and were able to really interact with them and share the book with them and how to stop bullying and how to get away from that. Excuse me. Another example is the SMART team. And with this is the Student Mentoring Awareness Resource Team. We were able to kind of showcase them in the video and what the work that they've done. Now the Student Mentoring Resource Team at Weaver Academy has really done some great work about how to advocate for not abusing alcohol and drugs. And we were able to do different activities. For example, one was where students did outline on the sidewalk and they did an outline like where a dead body would be. And what we did is wrote inside it a fact about alcohol or drugs, for example, and that was what we've done for the past couple of years now. So those are some examples that we showcased in the video. And being able to experience NYLC is certainly a fantastic experience. So we were able to meet and network with other students and learn and take back ideas that we learned at NYLC. For example, a Project Ignition with the no texting and driving. We were able to learn some great ideas from that. We were able to really start a buzz from service learning with those ideas that we took from NYLC at our school. So NYLC was the service learning conference was a great experience and really got a lot of excitement from. We got a lot of excitement from it. Now my role as a service learning ambassador at Weaver Academy has been what we took with the service learning training. We took that, brought that back to Weaver Academy and started weekly sessions at Weaver. So each week we have like 1 hour session after school with students to help them learn what service learning is about, help them log their hours or even jumpstart a project. So those service learning info sessions are held every week after school at Weaver. And those are some great times to share with students about how they can help in their community and really make a difference. It was also great to see how students have changed from when they came into Weaver Academy to how they're now graduating now. It's really seen a big change from the Very Special Arts Festival with their perspectives of how they've really changed their perception of students with disabilities to how they've really been aware and really got to learn information about alcohol and drugs with the SMART team. So those are some great projects that we've been working on, and we're still, looking for more projects and really starting to unify and come together. So service learning has really brought Weaver Academy, brought students together. We've been able to come together to work on different projects and really became one with those projects that we've worked on. It's been able to have a sense of accomplishment and pride among our students. Together, before service learning really got implemented, we were kind of all distraught and, we kind of went our separate ways, but being able to work on a project together has really brought us really together and became one, like I said earlier. But those are some great things that we've been working on at Weaver Academy, and we continue and look forward to do more. And I know that service learning will certainly grow in Guilford County as the years go by. So thank you, appreciate it.
Great presentation. Thank you, Tyler. I really appreciate it. It's now my honor to introduce Dan Fuller. He's the Vice President of Legislative Relations for Communities and Schools. And NYLC is delighted to have Communities and Schools as one of our partners, and I know that they've just been an amazing partner to so many, especially Guilford County Schools and Communities and Schools North Carolina as well. So Dan, please share some remarks with us.
Thank you, Kalita, and good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Communities and Schools is the nation's largest dropout prevention program. We're serving about 1.2 million kids in about 24 states. In your packet, you'll see a graphic about how our model works. So when I refer to the CIS model, that's I'm talking about the site coordinator in particular. But we've been a proud partner of the students, teachers, and leadership of Guilford County Schools. I think as you've heard today, they're doing some amazing things, and in many ways, it's nice that we're able to work with such great partners. Through our North Carolina affiliate, we've been able to direct both resources and provide programming to the schools. In 2010, Community Schools of North Carolina was the state-level entity responsible for overseeing and distributing funds from allocated to the state from the Learn and Serve America program, which is part of the Corporation for National and Community Service. With these funds, we provided about $35,000 to Guilford County schools, and that sparked initially some professional development, including sending educators and students to the National Service Learning Conference, and made sure that a teacher from every school was trained in high-quality service learning. As you can figure out, it's a very small investment of federal resources, but it's gone on to leverage significant private sector funds and contributed to transforming the educational culture and outcomes across a large school district. After Learn and Serve America was eliminated at the federal level, CIS and Guilford County have maintained a partnership. Together we've created a statewide network of nonprofits and schools committed to service learning, so that they can continue to share the resources and improve their practice. We've held a statewide summit for educators as well as regional trainings. And they go clearly beyond Guilford County to unite educators across North Carolina and the entire country. As we've heard today from Mo and Brenda, at the end of the day, multiple strategies and numerous partnerships are necessary to make schools and students successful. Vital to this effort is creating a culture of positive relationships between schools and the wider community, so that learning isn't going to stop at the classroom door, and that schools are seen as positive contributors when the service learning is doing well. And also, this relationship isn't just about what schools provide for the community, but also what opening schools to the community services and resources can do. While service learning brings learning to life and exposes students to new fields and professions, we can impact students when we also have robust career services to back these up. When we're making learning more engaging for students who are considering leaving school, as you heard earlier, many kids will drop out, just lack of engagement, and providing good service learning projects is a very strong deterrent. As I said, with Guilford County, we've got about 298 partners across North Carolina working on service learning. Nationwide, we're in about 2,700 schools. 1,600 of those sites are 1,600 sites and growing are providing service learning opportunities, and so we're hopeful moving forward that we can replicate this sort of partnership in other states around the country. With that, what am I?
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. So hopefully you're getting the sense that there's a lot of service learning that's taking place, and it's having an increasingly amazing impact, and we're really interested in looking at the outcomes that we can achieve through this strategy. So it's now my pleasure to introduce a member of my team, Karen Pernew, who is our Program Strategies Director at the National Youth Leadership Council. Karen.
Hi, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and talk to you a little bit about the professional development that we've been doing with Guilford County. We're really proud of our partnership here and really proud to be working with such a talented team of school district staff and schools that Guilford County has, and with the students there at Guilford County. NYLC started doing professional development with Guilford County schools in the summer of 2010 towards the beginning of their service learning and character development initiative. We connected with Brenda at the National Service Learning Conference that was held in Tennessee, I believe. And Brenda invited us to help them develop their initiative and to really be a strong part of the professional development within the district. One of the unique ways that Guilford County has gone about implementing service learning is that they started district-wide from K to 12 at all schools within their district. And this is something that requires a lot of careful planning and preparation and really thinking through how to do that effectively. One of the smart things that they did was create a core team of coaches within the district who work with the various regions in the district and really help coach the teachers in the school buildings who are doing the service learning. They also implemented a system of service learning teacher leaders where each of the 124 schools within the district has a cohort of teachers who have been trained in service learning in order to really help provide professional development to all the teachers within each of the individual schools. Over the course of the last few summers, NYLC has assisted Guilford County with their service learning teacher leader training, really helping to get the teachers on board, help them understand service learning as an instructional method. One of the tools that we've been using for that are the K-12 Service Learning Standards for Quality Practice. These are 8 standards that have been developed by the field, and NYLC helped lead that effort in 2008. They really help guide what is high-quality practice in service learning, and together with Guilford County's coaches and NYLC staff, we've been really working with the teachers and the students in Guilford County to understand those standards and how to make sure that the service learning that's happening within those schools is of high quality. We've all seen service learning where it's been done at varying levels of quality, and we know that the research says that when it is implemented at high quality, that's when you get those results. So we've been really careful at looking at how we incorporate reflection, incorporate that strong link to curriculum, incorporate that service in the community, the partnerships, the diversity, and the other standards that go along with high-quality service learning. One of the other areas where NYLC has been working with Guilford County is in training their service learning teen ambassadors, the student ambassadors. We've worked for a couple of years with them now, training the young people when they come together to teach them how to go back to their school and be those ambassadors. I think one of the unique aspects of this, as Al pointed out, was how service learning has a way of really bringing together teachers and students in partnership. And that's been a strong strategy within Guilford County and for NYLC, is helping to foster those connections and those partnerships between students and teachers and the community members and community partners. I think that that has been one of the strengths of the program here. You know, the other aspect that NYLC has worked with Guilford County on and with school districts across the country is providing that ongoing support. We have an online community called the Generator School Network, and this has been a way of helping teachers within their school buildings coordinate on programs and projects within their schools. The teachers can form groups and communicate with each other online. Across the district, Guilford County has tasked one of their teachers with being a leader on the Generator School Network to help coordinate efforts across the district and share projects on there. So all of the teachers and all of the school buildings can see what each other is doing and really kind of learn from each other. Because we see service learning as primarily an instructional strategy, we've been working with them over the course of the past few years on developing some service learning lesson plans that tie directly to the standards that teachers are already meeting in their classroom. So rather than have something that is going to be something new that teachers are doing, it's really helping them use a curriculum development method, understanding by design or backward design, to design service learning so that you're looking at what you're already doing in the classroom, the lessons that you want to teach, that student outcomes that you want to achieve, and really tying that to the service so that you know what the goals are, what the outcomes are, and how you're going to assess that service learning before you begin doing it. And I think Guilford County has had some really strong success with that. NYLC has learned a lot from Guilford County as well, and one of the things that we're working on right now with the help of UPS Foundation and State Farm is really looking at how the success that Guilford County has had can be brought to other school districts. We are now working with school districts in Minnesota, Mounds View Public Schools, and in Pennsylvania, Newcastle area schools. And we've been having talks with schools in Wisconsin and California and Arizona about how to really replicate this effort in other school districts and take what we've learned from Guilford County, take the professional development tools that we've developed, and really working strongly with other districts at all levels, the same way that we've done in Guilford County, with the district administrators, with the teachers, with the students, and with the community partners in order to forge these strong district-wide service learning efforts. We know that passionate teachers and passionate students can make a difference, but doing it one teacher at a time, one school at a time, isn't enough to see the kind of sustained results that we've seen here. So we are really proud to work with you.
Thank you, Karen. And I just want to acknowledge Karen's leadership on our staff and leading the program department and all the work that she has done over the past few years with Guilford County and beyond to really help us to move this vision of ours forward and to help us bring this to scale. Thank you. So last but without question not least is Julie Hines. She is the Special Assistant for Post-Secondary Education at the U.S. Department of Education and has some history with service learning and civic engagement, and we're just delighted to have you here, Julie. So look forward to hearing your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. So, kind of a quiet voice. So thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here and to be a part of this panel. I am so completely impressed and excited about everything that we've all talked about today. This is a topic, as we were just talking about, that's just very near and dear to my heart because I've seen firsthand students' lives changed through service learning experiences, not through what I've done at the Department of Education, but what I did before the Department of Education, and the students who had a powerful learning experience outside of the classroom that really lit a spark for them that wasn't there before, that gave them a bigger direction, and that they carried through with onto their college years. So, it may not be a silver bullet that completely closes the achievement gap, but it can definitely help increase interest in school and help lower some of the dropout rates in the way that it really engages students in their learning. So at the Office of Post-Secondary Education, we are doing what we can to help encourage students to go on to college by offering grant programs. You may have heard of them, like Europe and TRIO. Our Student Services Office is always working really hard to make sure that we get out as many grants as we possibly can, and many of those programs end up being service learning types of programs that prepare youth, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds, for college and help them think beyond their high school days. So we are also working to ensure that once students make it into college, that we keep them there, and so we're working hard to work with the public and internally to come up with innovative ways that we can do that to keep them there and engaged in school. One of the reasons that civic learning and engagement is a priority at the Department of Education is because we know that service learning opportunities, like the ones that we've talked about today, can be are innovative and have the power and the capability to help lower the dropout rates and keep students of all ages, kindergarten through post-college graduate programs, interested and engaged and completing their education. And civic learning is also very important to the department because evidence has shown in recent days that the quality of civic discourse has really deteriorated over the last several years, and it just demonstrates a really profound, I know, shocking to many, right? A really profound need for the reinvigoration of civic knowledge and awareness through education. So, I mean, what more students can name the Three Stooges than they can name the branches of government these days. So we need to improve. We need to make some improvements there. And of course, a strong focus on civic learning is consistent with preparing students for the 21st century careers. And it's consistent with President Obama's goal to have the highest proportion of college graduates by 2020. And as we've talked about today, we know that K through 12 students who participate in civic engagement activities have higher grade point averages, higher retention rates. They're more likely to enroll in and complete college. In addition, we know those students demonstrate improved academic content knowledge, better critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills. Their written and verbal communication skills are improved. And I mean, as we've seen here quite clearly, the leadership skills have become much more evident. And these outcomes are even more profound, research has found, with traditionally underrepresented students, including low-income and minority students. So, really important role that these types of activities have. And for all these reasons and more, ED is doing what it can to make civic learning and democratic engagement a bigger priority in its work, and at the same time encourage schools nationally to do the same. So something that we did this year was we hosted an event at the White House that brought people from all around the country together to have a bigger conversation about civic learning and engagement. And it was a very inspirational event. There were many students there, many teachers, K through 12 and post-secondary as well, that have seen really incredible progress being made as we've talked here about the impact that civic service learning is having on student engagement. And Secretary Duncan was there, and he really emphasized the importance of service learning, and he shares concerns about it being, a side thing, and really emphasizes, the importance of it being a critical component of learning, and it should be something that is more integrated into the studies rather than being an after-school program, or it's naturally fits into the curriculum, and can help better prepare students for, to compete in a knowledge-based economy. global economy. And he, at the event, he asked everybody to remember what Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said when she said that civic knowledge is not inherited through the gene pool, which I thought was, it's something that's learned. So, so with that, you know, schools have an important role to play, teachers have an important role to play, families have an important role to play. So at this convening, the department released a document, and I have a few copies with me here if you're interested. It's called the Advancing Civic Learning and Democratic and Engagement in Democracy, and it's a roadmap and a call to action. And so what it incorporates, and I'm not going to get into all the details here, but it includes 9 steps the Department of Education is taking to make civic learning and democratic engagement a bigger priority in its work. And the one that I'll just briefly talk about today is number 3, which calls for identifying promising practices in civic learning and democratic engagement and encouraging further research to learn what works. And I mean, I can't say enough about, I've got to congratulate Mo on his work and, you know, NYLC on all the support that they've given to make this program possible, because I feel like it's a program that we can really take and elevate and share with others, because there's a lot of interest in this work that we're finding in the field, but not many people know how to make it happen. And so and that's part of the role that the department, that's a big part of what the department feels is their role, is trying to help others understand the possibilities. So, so I'll just say that, the department needs more evidence on this in this field, so that we can really, try to leverage the work that's going on and make a case that it's really working, so that it can be implemented more widely across the nation in our schools. So I think that's that. I just want to say thank you so much for having me here, and I want to congratulate you all again on your wonderful work.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate you being here. So as you've heard today, again, we're here just to celebrate the success of increased performance across the board for our young people, for our schools, and frankly to celebrate the fact that what Guilford County under Mo's leadership has really done is to find success at a district-wide level. So really bringing this to scale, utilizing those public-private partnerships in a huge and meaningful way. And Julie, thanks for teaming me up. Service learning really does fit very naturally within education, as we've seen demonstrated here today, and as we know is happening in pockets all across the country and certainly across the world. Many of our counterparts in other countries fully embrace and have utilized service learning as a strategy for many, many years. So what we're trying to do and what we've been working on with some members' offices to refine this is to look for opportunities to amend the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which is also known as No Child Left Behind. We expect that Congress will take that back up in the next session. And so we're working now with members to really refine what that can look like, and we certainly look forward to engaging with Department of Ed and other partners who are here today to help us refine that, to make sure that more opportunities are available to school districts and to leaders across our country to see service learning as a strategy, to make it easier for them to implement the kinds of things that we know are working in Guilford County. So without further ado, I just want to ask us all to give this panel one more round of applause before opening up the questions. Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask? I think we have a pretty small room, and I know Steve has a loud voice. So Steve Culberson with Youth Service America, if you'd like to stand and ask your question.
Hi, great panel. This is very interesting. My question is really, how do you align the challenges? I would love to see, like, the mayor next to you, Mo, saying, here are my big problems and here are my statistics, on hunger and homelessness and literacy and adult service, and how could you connect the two agendas? In other words, the intellectual capital that Bren talked about with the needs of the community. So how are the community agendas aligning with the opportunities that you're creating for your students in Guilford? Where are you connecting, and how are you connecting those dots?
Thank you for that question. And I believe Ms. Elliott may be able to speak to that very well because of the very strong connections we've been able to make at the local level, both with organizations and with other governmental agencies. And so I'm going to let Ms. Elliott, if you don't mind, jump in.
We need to do that. Thank you for the idea, Steve. I appreciate that. But I would tell you a couple of things that we're working on that we know are city priorities and probably priorities in other places is bullying prevention. That's becoming, a national epidemic, or it's just so prevalent in the media. We have one organization in our city, the National Council for Community and Justice, has been doing a lot of work in that area. And I turned on my television one morning, and there are students from Guilford County on television talking about a youth conference they were sponsoring that day, where they had 300 of our high school students coming to learn how to be allies against bullying prevention, against bullying in their schools. So the other thing, working with the police department, as I mentioned, a couple of priorities there, as well as issues around food scarcity and poverty, but I do agree we'd like to do that more closely. The final thing I'd like to say is that we have one organization in our county called Achieve Guilford, where we do have a number of community members that have come together around the school priorities. We have one task force that's working on service learning, and so that's a direct way. Our executive director in our county over nonprofits is there, and they're opening the door for issues that nonprofits are addressing and opportunities for young people to work in those nonprofits. So that's just where we are, but thank you for raising.
That's great. Rosemary, I saw your hand next.
I'm Rosemary Pizzuto from Campfire USA, or not USA anymore. But one of the things that I'm interested in is what kind of collaboration are you doing with the nonprofits to have them clearly understand the process of service learning, so that when the young people go into the agencies or go and do the partnerships, they're not just going in and being extra hands or worker bees, but they're really getting that very positive learning experience.
Okay. And I just started to touch on that at the end, but one of the task forces that we have through Achieve Guilford, this is what we heard from our nonprofits, and we have a lot of them, is that already our colleges require students to do service engagement hours. So they're already overwhelmed by the college students needing opportunities, and now you're telling me you're going to have, 20-some thousand high school students coming in addition. And so we have a project that we're working on with our colleges and universities, and they have begun to develop a framework of what quality service learning looks like. And the strategy is that the college students will be like volunteer coordinators and reflection leaders in the nonprofit organizations, and they will help to guide the experiences that our young people have. So when our students go to a nonprofit and they want to do their service there, they have a application that they fill out with the nonprofit. The student has to participate in the planning of the project. They have to discuss what is the community issue that they're investigating, and why would their service make a difference. Then they come up with their action plan. There has to be opportunities for reflection with that community partner throughout the process, as well as at the end a demonstration of learning. And so we follow that. I think it's a national format called IPART that we follow. And that's different for our nonprofits, because they're used to kids just coming there and serving and then clocking out. But we see that our colleges and universities will be able to, and the neat thing in the colleges and universities, they're looking around different different thematic areas that college students might have interest in. For instance, our work on addressing literacy, our college students that are in the teacher education field. Our issues are working with health-related areas. We're looking at college students that are in the nursing field. So where those students already have interest in skills in those areas.
Is there a question over here?
Yes. We have already addressed problems with the mayor and the police department. We do serve the homeless on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the local church, and some of our students go down and help serve. And also afterwards, the homeless work on art projects that we have started. And he mentioned the homeless on a park bench. That wouldn't happen in our place. And I was wondering if they're not supposed to be going box. So I was wondering if there's a way to address this.
In terms of making it easier for students to access or to be in the community. Dan, do you have something you maybe want to share with that, or Brenda or Mo, if you talk about anything?
Yeah, I can just briefly again. You know, one of the things that we do really well in communities and schools is we're not the experts on everything in a school district or in a community, but what we are expert at is finding the best providers and then getting those providers to provide those services. So I think what you're talking about is a problem of homelessness. And, you know, we do a lot of work with students who are in transitional housing or homeless. And our site coordinators are really able, you know, we had instances where kids weren't coming to school on cold days. It turns out they just needed winter coats. So our site coordinators were able to create like a clothing closet. So in this instant of homelessness, I think there's a number of things they would do, but it would be very community driven and local to the community. So,
well, basically it's private property, and it is the local churches and our school. And when the homeless worked on the art project, we sell them, and we use money for the habitat for the women and children who are homeless. And we also, the art projects, they come up with some really remarkable canvases
that they have.
Like this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Vince and then Ace.
Yep, I'm Vince Holm. I actually have a question for the two young people. Both Ms. Elliott and Ms. Hines mentioned that service learning develops civic skills and career skills, and I wonder if the two of you can reflect on what you think you've learned that you'll apply later as citizens or in your careers.
Yes, well, as far as civic skills, it's really given students a purpose in their community. They've been able to see the needs of the community, to realize those needs and take action. So, for example, like with Beretta Bikers, being able to see students go take action and feed the homeless, that's a really great example of how we realize those needs that are in the community. Service learning has helped with many skills, with networking skills, with speaking skills. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, this is just even experience to work on skills that I want to pursue, like broadcast journalism. That's kind of my dream. So, I mean, continuously working on skills. I mean, that's just what I see. But
I think that it just opens to the student's mind that there's a grand realization that there are people in the community that need stuff that, you think they won't need. But like I was saying, this is an example of civic responsibility, and it shows the character traits of a true citizen.
Great, good question. Thank you. Ace?
Thank you so much for showing the different faces of this and why service learning is such a powerful comprehensive strategy. I just wanted to say, given that we're in DC, I wanted to see if the panelists would comment on what policies, to promote high quality service learning, what policies currently exist that are barriers that high quality service learning.
I think from communities and schools' perspective, obviously, you've got so many schools that are facing a lot of competing demands, and I'm sure Mo will back this up. with fewer and fewer resources. So obviously, like most groups in town, we always want more money. You know, I think secondly, one of the things that certainly our organization is looking at is greater flexibility for proven programs. I think what we've heard here today is that, you know, service learning is proven. When you have fewer resources, you want to channel those resources into programs that are proven to work. So that's it. And then the last thing is we're working really hard within ESEA to have site coordinators available for schools. And I think, you know, Brenda and some others can talk about how well that works, but we want to give schools those opportunities. We're not saying do it, we're saying if you want to, you should be able to.
One thing that I would add is there's a strong policy direction towards outcomes, and I'm right there with it. So hear me clearly, I want the outcomes. I want to be able to see that our students are performing well on examinations that are given. But what comes along with that then is you can narrow your focus and your attention on how you get to those outcomes. You can focus on preparing for the test, taking the test, preparing for the next one, and you never sort of get to the rest of the show. And so part of what we've got to do is, as we're developing policies that say we want to have incredible outcomes for our students, and we can see that our students are reading on grade level and above grade level, that our students are performing well on national assessments, that our students are graduating and going off to college and not needing remediation when they get there. As we look for those outcomes, we cannot lose focus on we are developing children. We're developing young adults. And so the policies need to be sure that they allow for educators and communities to do the type of work that doesn't sort of drive us to this narrow focus on the result. One of the things that we challenge ourselves with, because when we rolled out service learning, we were there were educators who were concerned about, well, that's going to take away from all the other things that we must do to be sure that we get the outcomes Mo you want. And we basically said, at least in Guilford County, we're going to get the outcomes, but we're going to expand and allow for the opportunities for people to do it in creative and impactful ways. At a national level, I think that that's going to be critically important, that we allow for educators to do what they do, and that's to be great educators. And that's a conversation, that's a difficult one to have, but one that we must have. And so as various legislation, the ESEA is being reauthorized, I think we've got to be able and be willing to have the conversation that says, let's be sure that we don't narrow our ability to do wonderful things for our young people in ways that I believe perhaps other policies have driven us to.
Well said. I think Jean is next, and then Laura.
I'm not sure this is a question, but it's a comment. There was a reference made to the Learning Serve America program. I think it would be helpful to point out that that program no longer exists. Yeah. And that, so far as I know, at least, there is no dedicated source of funding in the federal government specifically to promote service learning. And I wonder if people will comment on whether or not ESEA might be an appropriate vehicle to remedy that situation.
Yep. So as I think, thanks for the question, Jean. So I think as we've alluded to, for those of you who don't know, Learn and Serve America was an initiative of the Corporation for National and Community Service, an independent federal agency. It had funded Learn and Serve America, which provided resources to and formula funds to every state to provide for some support within the state education agency for coordination and leveraging of opportunities within each state related to service learning, training and technical assistance, funds to individual schools and teachers and nonprofit organizations. So basically with about $40 million, which I always have to, I can't help but say this, it's a rounding error in the federal budget. $40 million, that program leveraged about 1.5 million students engaged in service learning across the country. It also involved about 3,000 different organizations and was matched 4-to-1 private sector dollars to public sector dollars. So in a sense, is, it's unfortunate that while it still is authorized under the Kennedy Serve America Act, which was passed in a very bipartisan way in the first 100 days of the current administration, that the funding was removed. And that happened in the fiscal year 2011 budget, so about a year, 14 months ago. So it has been a struggle for the field to figure out how do we ensure that amazing things that are happening, like what we've heard about in Guilford County, are able to continue. I think you heard Dan say that communities and schools found a way to raise private sector dollars and other ways of support. I'm sure that Mo and Brenda have looked for other ways within their department and their funding to be able to continue this kind of work. So we're at this point looking at some private corporations who have helped the UPS Foundation, for example, as we've mentioned here before, supporting NYLC and looking at how to help replicate some of the professional development that we've done. But frankly, there's huge opportunities. There's, as I said, it's still authorized under statute, so there certainly is an opportunity to try to restore some of those funds. But truly, given where we're at and given where we know that we can have a much larger impact on education, the strategy for looking at amending ESEA is where we've really been focused over the last 6 to 8 months. And so, as I mentioned, we have some members now who are interested in working with us to move that strategy forward. And so we certainly welcome all of your input and support and help with that as we look to increase that strategy. We also know that there are other federal agencies. Frankly, Department of Labor had a grant announcement for $40 million or so, is eerily similar, where they their grant proposal was to incorporate service learning as part of the work that they were doing with mostly juvenile justice issues or youth and incarceration. So, Julie, if you'd like to add something else, we'd love to have your perspective.
Right. So part of what we're doing right now through the roadmap that I mentioned, there's a huge initiative at Ed, a huge interest at Ed to make, as I was saying, to make this work more mainstream in the public. So there's a working group at the Department of Education that's working across all offices at the Department of Education. We're looking at all the grants that are being offered at the Department of Education or through the Department of Education to find out where there are opportunities for us to incorporate some of this service learning language in to some of the grants. So to allow those who apply for these grants more opportunities to be financially supported to do this kind of work. So I just wanted to let you know that that's definitely, this is on our radar and we're doing everything we can. The climate is really hard, as we just talked about, but we're trying to champion really hard for this work within the limitations that we have.
And we hope that this hearing and just sharing some information with all of you, we of course want to be a resource to you, so if you'd like additional packets or any other information, you have any questions, we're here to be a resource, and we hope that this helps to raise visibility for what can happen when young people are at the heart of their own education. And when you have an entire community come together with strong leadership at the top for a district-wide strategy. I think we have time for maybe one more question, Laura. Did you have
Sure. I'm going to just waddle up. Sorry, hold on. I had a question for, I guess, Mo or anyone else, and that is, one of the main hurdles I see is that, especially results-oriented organizations, or the biggest hurdle is usually the parents who want results for their particular child, etc. They want high school secondary education to become college preparatory. I'm wondering what kind of feedback have you received from the parents in your district about service learning and how it impacts their children, how the competent outcomes and the results you want in service learning are playing with the parents?
So for us, the response has been so positive. Our parents, these are the very same parents who, when I arrived, were saying our students seem to be lost in some ways. Would come up to me and talk about how this has made such a tremendous difference in their child's lives. When I went to the event, the Cool to Serve event, and was able to engage with parents there, and hear parents talk about how this was the difference maker for their children. That this was something that really allowed them to be engaged in the community, also to appreciate their schoolwork more, and then to have them be celebrated in such a positive way. So the response that I've received has been so positive that it's really encouraged us to say, well, let's do even more of this. Let's figure out ways to do even more. The other thing that I would say is this. There would be concern about, will this diminish the effectiveness of other work? This complements it in an amazing way. And so as parents really sort of see it now, I think that they're really appreciating how tremendous this is as an educational strategy for their students. And so it is amazing how now parents come up to me at various events that I go to or just in passing and talk about when they use our terms of service learning, how their child is going for the exemplary award, the diploma, and how wonderful that is. Unsolicited comments. So it's been positive, very much so.
I think we'll let you have the last word, Mo. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please give one more round of applause. Thank you.